the full sessions of the last 2 days, and all of the great participation, comments, the questions, and just being a great audience and just being a great group of teachers to work with. So thank you very much again on behalf of myself and Nick and Terry over the last few days. Okay, so the first thing I want to do is I very quickly want to just answer a question that I saw from Hala Al-Haytarshi, who says, I'm wondering where I can find the recording for yesterday's webinar. Now, the recordings will be provided to you. So if you, so we should send this out in an email, inshallah tomorrow or the beginning of next week. So you'll be provided with the recordings. And I'm also going to record the meeting today, and I'm going to start that right now. Okay. So, because the sessions with Nick and with Terry were very oriented around research and ideas and practical theories on how to deal with the many issues that you're dealing with, especially in the post-pandemic world, what I thought I'd do today with you is a little bit differently. So I'm not going to take you through a PowerPoint presentation. I am going to take you through some of the websites and some of the things that I prepared, and I will be hoping that we can interact together in the chat. So please feel free to type out any questions you have. If I do miss them during the session, I'll come back to them every half an hour or so, inshallah. Also, inshallah, today we'll be finishing a little bit earlier because I know some of you have complained that the full time that was allocated for these sessions was too long. And so I'll try to finish earlier today, and so you can have some rest before a full day of working tomorrow. Okay. So the first thing that I want to talk to you today about is something that I don't know if you're aware of or not. So just a question I'm going to throw out here. How many of you have heard of ELT together? And I'll type that in the chat box. Great. We already have one person. Siham, Muhammad Salim, Muhammad Nawaz. Okay, so we have one no, but so a couple of no's, great. Okay, so I'll very quickly show you what this is. I'm not sure if Terry mentioned this yesterday, so I thought I'd go over it again. And what it is, I'm going to share my screen with you now. So I'm just going to check that you can see my screen. So you should be able to see my browser with ELT together. So if you could type in the chat box. Yes, Siham, Ikhar, great. Thank you very much. Tahani wrote no, yes. Okay, maybe that was a typo. Okay, thank you. Okay, so ELT together is something that we have developed to bring together this wonderful community of ELT teachers around the world. And so everything is moving online as we are having this session together today. And so what our colleagues in Oxford have decided to do is they have designed not one webinar, not a couple of days of webinars or sessions, but full weeks of professional development webinars where you have the chance to pick and choose which webinars you'd like to attend. Within the webinars, you can connect with fellow teachers, you can connect with some of the peers from around the world or within the Saudi context as well. And we can connect with each other and learn from our colleagues and share ideas together. And some of the topics that we'll be talking about are things like online learning, blended learning, mixed ability classes, assessment, and so much more as well. And we have some very, very, very well-experienced speakers in this event. So how do you find out information about this? Okay, you go to our website, which is elt.oup.com, and then you search for ELT together. So this is the page you will see. And what you do is you can scroll down here, and this is the full program, as you can see on the screen. And some of the speakers that we have is Dr. Sarah Mercer, who is very well experienced in psychology and English language teaching as well. We have also Mila Angelova, we have Celia Reid, we have Mark Richard, and just these are just some of the speakers and so much more as well. So some of your colleagues, I'm just going to stop here because some colleagues are writing that there's no sound. So let me just make a suggestion to these colleagues. If I'm going to tell them that if they are experiencing issues with sound, okay, so hopefully the issue will be resolved for them because I can see that most of you can hear me okay. Okay, so how do I join the ELT Together 4 weeks of webinars and professional development sessions? So the first thing I do is I create an account in the Oxford Teachers Club, or if I have one, I log in. So I'm going to log in here in the corner, as you can see, and I already have my details saved. So I'm just going to log in, and then I just wait for it to load. My internet is a bit slow today, so please bear with me. Hillary says there's a storm in Mecca. That's sounds very nice, and I wish we would have a storm in Riyadh as well. Okay, so I'm going to search for ELT Together. Okay, Dr. Surab, I assume you can hear me. Could you contact Dr. Ahmed Al-Asmari and assist him in getting his sound set up? Thank you very much. Because he's commented a couple of times so far. So this is the ELT Together page, as you can see on my screen. And here are all the speakers. And I have the opportunity here to register directly for the event, or I can go to click to view the full schedule on the screen. And it brings me into this Page Tiger website. And if I go to the next page, as you can see here, it brings me to all of the sessions. Now we have sessions every day for the full 4 weeks, Monday to Friday, from the 21st of September all the way to the 16th of October. And the beautiful thing about this is I can pick and choose now which sessions I'd like to attend. And so, for example, if on Tuesday between 6 o'clock to 7 o'clock UK time, I want to attend the immediate future of teaching languages and takeaways from the COVID-19. I just click on the session. It gives me some information about the speaker and then some information about the session here and then the time. And then all I need to do is to register to a registration page for Adobe Connect, as you probably did when you were registering for these sessions today. And so that's how you register for individual sessions. Once you register, you'll get a link in your email and a reminder as well before the event, reminding you to join. And so I do hope that as many of you as possible can join the session. Thank you very much, Fahad and Jim, for sharing the link. I'll also be sharing these links with you after the session today. Okay, so that was the first thing that I wanted to show you. Now, the second thing that first of all, do you have any questions about ELT Together? Any comments, anything that you'd like to know? Okay. Great. Thank you very much, guys. I'll also share a link of this right now in the chat box. So just feel free to copy this link and to keep it with you. And this is a Page Tiger of the full schedule, but it also has links embedded in it as well, where you can go straight to the registration links. Great. And I really hope that many of you can join this event with us at Oxford. Okay, so that was just something brief that I wanted to mention to you. And now I'll move on to the second thing that I want to talk to you about, which is our page tigers or flip books of all of the books that are used at the ELC at University. So some of you will have access to iTools, and I really hope that you have no issues with iTools. If you do, you can contact my colleagues in ELT support who will help you overcome any issues, whether you're using a MacBook or Windows laptop or any other devices that you have. However, if you do face issues with iTools, or you want something that can be displayed in a browser when you're teaching your students online, we have also developed flipbooks, and these are specific and only for the ELC at University. And as you can see, these are a list, and I'll also share these with you after the session today, inshallah. So as you can see, we have Oxford English for Careers, we have the nursing, the commerce, and the technology books. We also have A1 milestones, A2 milestones, and B1 milestones as well. So some of you have asked, how do you access the page tiger or the flip books for milestones? And I'm going to take you now through all of the steps that you need to access these resources. Okay, great. I'm really glad that Dr. Ahmed is back in the room. Thank you very much for helping him, Dr. Sarab. Really appreciate that. Thank you very much. Okay. Dr. Sahar says iTools is not working on Mac. If you do want to contact me, Dr. Sahar, I'll try to help you. If any issues that you have, inshallah, we will try to help you as much as possible for this. Afnan says, what's a flipbook? Oh, that's the best question that I could have hoped for. I'm going to show you exactly what a flipbook is. Okay, so let's say you're teaching milestones A2. What you would need to do is you need to go here and click on the link for A2, the student book. And what it will do is it will take me, it'll open up my browser. As you can see here, it does ask me to register first. So what do I need to do? All I need to do is click on register here and enter my email address. So I'm just going to enter in just a normal email address. Let me just say Zaid@mailinator, which is a temporary email inbox. I just accept the privacy notice and I click on register. That's all you need to do. So click on the link for the flipbook. It will open up the page in a browser. Click on register, enter your email address, and then click on accept the privacy policy and then register. And that's all you need to do. The next step is going to your browser to check your inbox. So I'm going to go find my inbox. And as you can see here, I have an email from Page Tiger here that asks me to verify my email. And I click on the message and it shows me, dear Zaid, you have registered to read a document on Page Tiger, and it's asking me to click on the reader verification link in your email inbox. And so I do that, I click on the link, and then it asks me to create a password. And you need to create a password that's 8 characters long, and it has 1 letter, 1 number, and 1 special character at least. So I am going to do Oxford 1, and I'm going to add a full stop and click on continue. As you can see, I've now registered, my email has registered, and it will take me automatically to the milestones in English book. So this is like an online PDF of the book that you can use to teach your students in class or online. Okay, so Lemia says, can you send us the link for flipbooks? I will be sending you all of the links for these flipbooks so you can access them whenever you need. I will send you the links for all of the milestones books, as well as the books for the Oxford English for Careers, nursing, technology, and commerce. Afra says, could you please repeat the steps? Yes, of course. I will repeat the steps for another book. So I'm just going to show you what comes in the book. So as you can see here, I'm on the very first page. And the way I do it is I flip through the pages using the arrow on the right, and I flip back using the arrow on the left. Now, I think that the book, it's fine if I have a massive screen, but I think it would be a bit small if maybe you were projecting it using Adobe Connect, like we're doing now, or using Zoom or Blackboard for teaching. And so what you can do is you click on the 3 lines here, and then I go to single page view. And suddenly the book is much clearer. So you can see the text more clearly, and you can read most of the font, and you can look at the images as well. And so basically, that's it. You have the full book, with all of the images, with all of the text available for you to use with your students in class or online. And it's very easy for you to actually use this book as well if you want to have the book, on your mobile phone, on your laptop, if you're preparing a lesson and you don't want to go back to the printed book at that time. Okay, so Dr. Sahar says that Sabah has the links to the Flipbooks, who is at the ELC e-learning unit. Yes, and if anybody needs the links and they want to get in contact with the ELC management, they can provide them, and we can as well if you want to receive the links for the Flipbooks. Okay. So that's what the Flipbooks look like. I'm going to go now, and I'm going to repeat the steps for another book. So I'll close this Flipbook. I'll keep my inbox open. So, and then I will go back to the list that I have. And as you can see here, I think of you watching A2. Great. Okay, so we've looked at A1 to here. So we've clicked on the B1 student book, and to register, all I need to do is to click on register on the right here. I'll enter my email address. And agree to the privacy notice and click on register. And it will then ask me to go to my inbox, which I will do here. So I'll go to my inbox. And as you can see, I have received an email from Page Tiger asking me to verify my email address. Great. Mohammed Arshad says, click on the Flipbook link and then register, enter the email address, accept the privacy policy, verify the message in your inbox, and then create your password. Yes, that's perfect. Thank you very much for summarizing that, Mohammed Arshad. Afnan says, what if I already registered for the other books? That's a good question. So I'll show you that with a third option after I finish the registration here. So I'll just create my password. And as you can see, it's redirecting me now to the Milestones B1 student book. And that's how I have access. So the email address, Amani, can be anything that you want to enter. So the most optimal option for you, whichever is easier, basically. And so that's what you'll use to log in to the Flipbooks. Okay, let me show you what I would do now that I have already registered my email address. So I'll show you what the website asks me to do. So if I want to access A2, the workbook, so if I have a lesson with my students, and today I'm covering parts of the workbook. Once I've registered, I'll just enter the email address that I've already used, and then enter the password that I just selected a few moments ago, and click on login. And as you can see, it gives me immediate access to the book. So I only have to register the first time I use the books, and then I just have to remember the email address that I used to register with and the password that I entered for these Flipbooks. So these obviously at this time the flipbooks don't contain the audio because the audio are in the iTools. But for some of you who are having trouble with the iTools, we have created these so you don't feel that you're restricted to finding another solution, especially if you have a class scheduled very soon. So this is another solution for you to use with your students. If you want to use it in the class, you can, or outside of the class, you can. So Abdullah says, can we open the workbook and the student book in separate browser windows? Yes, let's try and do that. So this is the workbook for A2. Naif says, is there a PDF workbook? Yes, this is the workbook, Naif. Yes, thank you, Dr. Sahar, for reminding me. I'll come to the bank of audios and videos in a minute, and I'll talk about those. So let's try to also access the student book. So I'm just gonna log. So as you can see here, in one tab, I have the A2 students book, and I am flipping through it using the arrows, as you can see on your screen. And at the top, I am going back to the workbook, and I am also flipping through it. So you can access both of the books at the same time in the same browser, and it's very quick and easy to flip and through them. You know, if you are teaching A2 and B1 at the same time, for whatever reason, you could have both of these open up in the same browser as well. Okay, so Dr. Sahar has just reminded me of something that I also wanted to mention, is that what we have done is we have taken all of the audio and all of the video for A2 and B1, and we have provided them to the ELC. I believe it's the e-learning unit. And they have very kindly put these together, and they will make these accessible to all of the teachers. And so basically, one place where you can go and find any of the audio clips that you need for your lesson, or any of the videos that have been designed and published for these titles. Hopefully there won't be any issues, but if you have any questions anytime, don't hesitate to contact your colleagues at the e-learning unit or myself if you want any assistance from Oxford as well. Dr. Mohammed says, does the workbook copy have the key answers? So the way the flipbooks work, they don't have the key answers embedded in them, but we have provided the key answers, and I'll also show you where you can find some of these resources when we move to OxfordLearn, inshallah. Okay, Sajjad just said the voice keeps cutting off. Can I check that everybody can hear me, or are most of you having issues as well? Okay, great. Thank you very much for confirming. Dr. Sajjad, if you want to try the audio setup wizard in Adobe, it will be under the meeting tab. And if that doesn't work, maybe you can log out and log back into the meeting, because it may be an internet connection or it may be an audio issue. Okay, so Sayyid Akbar, so the workbook is with the key or without the key. So this is the edition, as you can see here. I'll go to the very first page. So this is the edition that's most likely without the answers, but let's find that at the end. And you can scroll right down to the end here. And as you can see, I've come to the last unit in the book, the skills development page. Excuse me, I'm just going to find. Okay, so this is the skills development area, and this probably doesn't include the answer key, but I will show you where to find all of the answer keys for the workbook as well. Okay, it seems that Dr. Ahmed is having issues with sound. Okay, so that was most of what I wanted to talk to you about flipbooks. So before I move on, does anybody have any questions? That's a good question, Dr. Noreen. Can we write on the flipbook using the browser? That's a good question. I'm not sure that we can using the browser, and the reason is not because of the flipbook setup. I think the browsers themselves don't have options where you can write within them. It may be possible for you maybe to freeze the screen if you have a certain projection software that allows you to do that, and maybe add a note on top of the flipbooks. Dr. Mohammed Nawaz says there seems to be a net issue because I receive late screen movement and also broken voice, where all the other applications on my computer as well as the mobile working properly. Any solution, please? It may be an Adobe problem. So, Dr. Mohammed, if you can log out and log back in, hopefully that will solve the issue for you. Dr. Ahmed says, we have students can't access the answer sheets. We hope students can't access the answer sheets. No, we hope the students can't access the answer sheets either, because the idea is to ask them to do their best work before we give them the correct answer. So hopefully the students won't have access to any of the answer keys. Dr. Shireen says, which one is better to share in Blackboard? The iTools or Flipbook? That's a good question. I would say try iTools first, and because obviously iTools has some answer keys and some of the audio embedded as well. So if the iTools are working fine with Blackboard, then I would say use iTools. But if you are having issues with iTools, then this is a good backup plan for you to have. And as you can see, you don't really have to do much in terms of installation or setup. It's very simple, and it's very quick as well for the flipbooks. Dr. Sayed, without the key, can we supply or write specimen example sentences on the workbook? So again, if you have a browser that allows you to write on top of whatever's on your screen, then you can use that for adding notes or writing on top of the workbook. And Mohammed Omar says you can write on Windows 10 in the browser. Okay, that's a very useful tip, Dr. Mohammed. So if you could share how you've done that with some of your colleagues, perhaps they can benefit from how to, write on top of anything that's in the browser. Well, it sounds like the weather in Mecca is very bad today. I hope you guys stay safe. Dr. Hillary says, just to confirm, we open the Blackboard, then share screen and use iTools. Yes. I'm not sure how you share your screen within Blackboard, Dr. Hillary. I personally don't have a Blackboard account, but I would imagine that that's the way to do it. And then use the Flipbook as a second option. Yes. Noreen says, can we download the flipbooks to use offline? I don't think they can be downloaded to be used offline. But I will check. I will check that for you and get back to you. Okay, great, great comment. Thank you, Mohammed Omar says some screens come with ballpoint pens and allowed to write on them. So that's a good idea. If you're able to make use of that, I think that's a really nice tool to use as well. Okay. Okay, so it doesn't look like there are many questions coming through now. But if you do think of a question, whether it's about the ELT Together event, whether it's about flipbooks, if you want to write it in the chat box. And before we end our session today, I'll come back to the chat box and I'll read through it, or you can ask your question again later on, and hopefully we'll be able to cover everything together today. Okay, Dr. Shireen says the iTalk is too heavy, so we hope it won't cut through sharing the screen. I'm not sure. Yeah, the iTools. Yeah, the iTools is too heavy. So I don't think it should. I think basically screen sharing just basically shares anything that's on your screen. So if the iTools are working, then they should come through when you're sharing your screen with your students. I think the only issue you might face is how to share audio from the iTools to your students. But some of my colleagues, what they've done with that is they've just basically used a speaker, or they've asked their students to find the correct audio clip within OxfordLearn, and then so that the students are following the same clip together with their teacher. Okay, some really good IT suggestions here tonight. Dr. Mohammed Arshid says, refresh your browser, your internet modem and restart it. Great. Dr. Ahmed says, actually, the compressed file, which we already have for milestones, does include everything inside. Yeah, so if you have everything in one place and you can share that, that's absolutely great. And obviously, if you can't, then that's why we're providing alternative options. So we want to make sure that you feel as teachers as supported as much as possible. You know, teaching online is a challenge. You know, you were talking to Terry and Nick as well about teaching online. And it comes with a lot of challenges, as you've mentioned in the past. And what we want to do at Oxford is make sure that you have all of the tools that are available at hand, so you don't feel that it's hard getting hold of flipbooks or the audio clips or the video clips or any of these things. So that's what we're here to do. We're here to help you and support you as much as we can, inshallah. Dr. Hillary says, if the ELT has the audio and the videos, will they also have a digital book for A2 and B1? So this is basically what a digital book would look like. I'm Dr. Hillary, the flip books, and that's how we've provided all of the different options. Dr. Ahmed says the A2 students book is 223 pages, while on the screen it says 90 pages only. Why? I applaud your knowledge, your in-depth knowledge of the student's book, sir. And you're absolutely right. The student book is not 90 pages, but the book on the screen is the workbook. And as you can see, this is a student book now. So this has over 223 pages. Dr. Ahmed says, is it shareable on Blackboard? It should be, yes. So anything that you share through your screen, you should be able to share through the browser, through Blackboard. Yeah, so 2 pages are displayed here, but you can also make it into a single page view like I've done now. And this basically just zooms in and gives you more visibility on one page. So Dr. Ahmed says the workbook is 87 pages, and where did the extra 3 pages come from? Well, the extra 3 pages, Dr. Ahmed, are the cover pages. So I'll show you. If we go to the contents page, so if this here is not usually counted as a numbered page in our books. So number 1 usually starts after this page because it's a cover page, but here it's counted as page number 1. So these may be cater for the extra 2 or 3 pages. No worries. Great. Okay, so what do you guys say that we go together to look at OxfordLearn? Yes, yes, great. I'm loving the enthusiasm. Great, thank you guys. Okay, so I just want to start off by saying that I am working with Dr. Sahab, Dr. Samar, Dr. Surab on setting up everything on OxfordLearn. And so you will be contacted in how to access the content and what to do in terms of your classes and your students. So don't worry too much tonight about creating classes or creating content or student issues and things like that, because we are working on a way that we will support you as much as possible and support your students as well. But what I would like to do today is just to show you what OxfordLearn is, what it has. And now I know that many of you, probably most of you, already know what I'm going to say and what I'm going to talk about. And you probably know more about the website and the content than I do, having used it with your students over the last 2 or 3 years. And that's absolutely fine. So today we're just going to relax together and share ideas with our colleagues. And hopefully, if anybody has any questions, then we can help them and support them, and just remind ourselves why we use OxfordLearn, why we use online practice, and how it can help our students, especially students who are studying in this environment, in the Corona world of education. Okay, so OxfordLearn. Very briefly, OxfordLearn is a website that's owned by Oxford University Press, and it hosts the online practice content for Milestones. And so I already have an account. Don't worry about accessing your account, or if you've forgotten your password. We'll deal with that over the next 2 or 3 days together with some of your colleagues, and we'll update you on what you need to do. But for now, I'm just going to log into my account. As you can see here, I already have some courses added to my account. I do want to mention one thing though. If you have a student that needs to join your class, so if this is something that is going to happen next week or the week after, and your student says, "Teacher, I created an account already and I want to join your class," if that situation happens to you, what you need to do is you need to go to manage classes. And don't worry if you think you might forget these steps, because we will put them all together in an email and have some very clear steps for you as well. But this is just me showing you how to do that while the website's open in front of you. So you would go to manage classes and you would find your class. So usually you would only have 1 or 2 classes. Obviously I have quite a lot here because I have an overview. But you would click on edit, and you would find the joining code for your students. So it usually starts with an S, and you would give this to your students. You would make sure they have it correct, the correct amount of numbers and letters. And you can also, double click and copy if you want to send it to your students by WhatsApp or email. So once your students have this code, what they need to do is they log on to their account in OxfordLearn, and they go to join. As you can see on the left here, there's a button where it says join. So they click on join, and it says to them, please enter your joining code, and they would enter the code that starts with S and has a bunch of numbers afterwards. And that's all they would do. Once they go through these steps, they're automatically added to your class. So remember, if that's a situation where a student says to you, "Teacher, I want to join your class," or the ELC management asks you to help your students join a class, those are the 3 steps you do. You find your class, you find the joining code, you give it to your students, and that's all you need to do. And the students then click on join, and they join on your class. Okay, so Dr. Lemia says, are you going to send us new codes? We are working on either providing you with codes, Dr. Lemia, or if we can, we're going to set up accounts for teachers and give you, the full details you need to have to access your account. So we will be sorting all of that out for you, inshallah. Dr. Osama says, I have 2 groups. Yes, you have 2 groups, and you would have 2 classes on OxfordLearn, basically. So however many classes you have in reality, you would have the same classes in OxfordLearn. Dr. Zahar says, would it be possible to enlarge your page? I can definitely try. No, that's too much, I think. Is that better? Yeah, no worries. Dr. Ahmed says, should we send the code to students for every class? So, Dr. Ahmed, if that's a procedure that we're following for you, that we're going to follow for our students, we will give them the joining codes. But there are other ways we're looking at, hopefully to make things easier for you as the teacher and easier for the students, so they don't have to worry about joining the right class or worrying about their username or password. And this is something that I'm hoping to finalize with your colleagues, Dr. Sahar, Dr. Samar, Dr. Surab, inshallah, over the next couple of days, inshallah ta'ala. Dr. Ahmed Shamari says students usually get confused between Oxford registration and joining classes. Yeah, I agree, and I think it is confusing when you say to your students, use the code in the back of your book, but don't use it to join the class. Use the joining code, but don't use the code in the back of your book, and yeah, that can get very confusing for students. And so those are some of the issues that we became aware of last year when we first implemented this on a large scale in the ELC, and these are some of the issues that inshallah we were hoping to avoid all of these issues with the students. I'm hoping that if we can have a list of all of the students, then we will work as an Oxford support unit with your e-learning colleagues and just finalize all of the data before the students are asked to log in. Okay, I'm just going to wait for a couple of your colleagues to finish typing, and then we'll move on to look at some of the content together. So Dr. Naif says, what about a class of more than one instructor? Yeah, absolutely. So OxfordLearn, it's a platform that has a lot of different features and functionality, but it does allow for more than one teacher in one class. And that's something really good, because either teacher can see what the students are doing. They can see the students' grade in the grade book, and they can assist their students in logging in or giving them the joining codes if they have to. So yeah, we can add 2 teachers to one class, or we can add 2 classes for 1 teacher. So whatever you're doing, however you're teaching in the ELC this year, we can do exactly the same for you on OxfordLearn, inshallah. Dr. Mohammed Khawar says, we already have accounts. Is it possible to continue the same account? Yeah, so that's also something we are considering. So we know that most teachers have accounts. I don't know if the content is still active and your licenses are still valid, so that's something we'll be checking as well. So we will look at, do we give teachers access to their previous accounts, or is it easier for us to create new accounts for everybody and add all the students? So we're looking at all the different options, and inshallah, we're here to support you as much as possible. And I think, and this is just a suggestion from me, and hopefully Dr. Sahar, Dr. Samar, Dr. Surab can comment further, but maybe down the line we can have another session on OxfordLearn, just to address any of the issues that come up with your students, once you've started using it. Dr. Sayed Akbar says, I have earlier added groups in my OxfordLearn account. Should I need to create a new account with new codes? I have shared 4 groups, and should students create separate accounts for each teacher? Yeah, so I would say just sit tight for a couple of days, Dr. Sayed, and then we'll have all of the procedures ready for you, inshallah. So don't worry about any of that. We have previous year's classes. Can we edit them? You can edit them, yeah, but I would suggest that classes are created fresh for this semester, just so all of the data there's no confusion in the data, and then the new students have no issues joining and logging in. So Dr. Sahar says the ELC has a rule that says the main teacher for the group is the one who is in charge of giving marks for OxfordLearn and the continuous assessment. Okay, that's very helpful. Thank you, Dr. Sahar. So I think that would make the teachers' lives easier, where we'd have, and the other teacher doesn't have to worry about, logging their students in or retrieving their grades or following up with them on online work. So that's really useful to know. Thank you, Dr. Sahar. Yeah, Dr. Ahmed, some of the previous content isn't active anymore. Yes, that's because it was done last year, and that's something that we'll solve together. Okay, so what I want to do now is I want to show you some of the content that is the milestones book. So for those of you obviously most of you will probably know this, but Milestones in English has a very unique online practice content, and this is something that I really love about this course, and the feedback about this has been very positive in the past. And the fact is, Milestones in English comes with extra content, and so it's not content that's been added on at the end of the course. It's content that really supplements the course and adds strength to it. So it's called the Oxford Online Skills Program. And the idea is to really support students in their academic practice, the academic language. So giving them the chance to improve their language skills in speaking, listening, reading, and writing. Some of the content is linked to the content in the books, so the students are familiar with the theme of the unit, but some of the content is new. So the students don't feel that it's monotonous and it's being repeated for them. And so that's what we've done. We've tried to have a variety of different approaches. So the students will have maybe one approach in class or with the books, and then another approach when it comes to the online practice, just to keep them interested and to keep them to cater for the different learning styles as well, and to have new themes that would interest different types of students. So I think because we're not using A1 this year, I think I'll show you A2, and then we can also look at B1 later on if we have time, inshallah. And so I'm just going to show you some of the features of the course, as you can see here, and then towards the end of the session today, we'll talk a little bit about creating tests within OxfordLearn. But I won't go into too much detail with the tests, because I understand not all of you are responsible for creating tests, and it can be something that's very time consuming and very difficult to manage, especially if you're doing this online. But I will talk about it just to give you an introduction to the different options that we have on OxfordLearn. Okay, so as you can see, this is the main page of the course, and this is one of my classes, and this is the Milestones course within that class. The first thing that I want to do is I want to take you to the content. So I can go to click here on go to content, or I can click on content in the corner here, and it's exactly the same thing. So as you can see here, there are many different components for the Milestones online course. And as a teacher, you immediately have so many different options in terms of the resources that it's available and the activities that your students will also have for them when they log in. So the first thing that you can see here in the corner is teacher materials. And many of you were asking earlier about the answer keys. And as you can see, there's a section here for answer keys as well, which we'll come to in a minute. But I'd like to show you the teacher notes first. So if I click on the teacher notes, as you can see, there are notes for all of the units here. Now, there is also a teacher's book for Milestones, but there are also separate teacher notes here for the different units. And the way you access this is you click on the link. That's all you really need to do, and it will open up, all of the notes for this particular unit. And what I love about having the notes separate for each unit is that it provides a sort of a summary for what that unit is, what are the objectives of the unit, what parts of the language are being covered, and then some tips and advice for teachers on the best way to approach the language that's covered in the unit, and maybe some extra teaching advice for teachers as well. So as you can see here, it shows you, the language input, and here you can see we're looking at the present simple of the verb to be or be. We're also looking at possessive determinism, possessive s, and then in the vocab development, we're looking at family, countries, nationalities, languages, etc. And then in the skills, it will give you a very brief summary of what we're doing in each of the 4 skills. So in reading, the focus here is understanding the main idea. In the writing, we're looking at getting our students more proficient in punctuation and how to write accurately as well. And so this is a very nice summary for teachers, just to look at the unit and to see what we're doing with it and how we will approach the unit. And then there's more details in terms of the CEFR, so the Common European Framework descriptors here, so the can-do statements. So the idea is by the end of the listening parts of the unit, the student should be able to say, I can understand phrases about personal and family information. So that's the listening objective, or the listening can-do statement for this particular unit. And then it will also show you where the student can go to do extra practice or additional material. So as you can see, we have the what the parts in the workbook, and then the Oxford Online Skills Program activities, and then extra photocopyable activities as well, and finally some assessment items. And then obviously, as we go through the unit, there's the answer keys, as you can see here, for the student book, and then also some tips of how to approach a particular lesson with the student. So for example, exercise 3, as you can see here, it tells the teacher, it suggests to the teacher to elicit the nationality, and then maybe have the students work in pairs. Now, some of this may not be applicable in the online teaching of COVID-19, but it will give you some ideas which maybe you, as an experienced teacher, you can take away, and then you can manage and apply to your class as you see fit. Okay, so Dr. Sorab says the audio and the video files are available. Yes, Dr. Sorab, thank you. I'm going to come to that. Dr. Fahad says they are downloadable. Yes, you guys are very well informed, and I'll come to that as well. Dr. Javid Iqbal says the answer keys for both student book and workbook are also available. Yes, they are. Perfect. Dr. Mohammed says, is there any iPhones file under TPS? Yes, that's true. Dr. Sahaf says teachers have the luxury of selecting the best option for technology use in teaching. Yeah, I think that's one of the beauties of teaching in a COVID-19 world. Maybe the silver lining, I would say, that we have the option now that choosing different technology and finding the one that works best for ourselves and our students, and having the support available as well. Dr. Mohammed says, can we download these notes as well? Yes, of course you can, and I will show you how to do that in a minute. Dr. Mohammed says, how can I hide units so students don't tell me I finished everything already in 2 weeks? I'll show you how to do that in a minute. Okay. Dr. Abdurrahman says, the notes seem like a copy from the teacher book. Yes. Basically, it is the teacher book divided into all of the different units. That's absolutely true. Oh, Dr. Sayed says he can't hear. Such a shame. I hope that his sound comes back. I'll check in with him in a minute. Okay, Dr. Abdurrahman says provides great introductions to each unit. Yes, I agree. Thank you very much. Dr. Sarab says a fresh copy of the items should be provided to the e-learning unit ELC. Absolutely right, Dr. Sarab. If you would be so kind to remind me about this on Sunday, then I will make sure they are sent to you by DHL from our office, and I'll send you as many as you need, inshallah, to cover all of the campuses. Okay, so let me just deal with the question of Dr. Mohammed Ashfaq, who says, can we download these, or these can be downloaded? And that's absolutely true. As you can see, this is a PDF. And so all I would need to do here, as you can see, the mouse is hovering over the download icon, and all I would need to do is click on download, and then as you can see, it gives me the option to download this as a PDF to my computer, and you can download this to your computer, and it's there ready for you when you need it. You can have this even open when you're teaching your online class, just to refer back to these notes, if you want to. And you can have this on your mobile phone, on your iPad, on your laptop, wherever you need it, basically. So do feel free to download these. And I'm just going to scroll down very quickly just to show you something that comes at the end of these teacher notes. So as you can see, this is going through all of the different parts of the unit. And then at the end, you have the grammar reference answers. So it will give you all of the answers to the grammar reference part as well. Okay, so that's just an example for the teacher note. Okay, so I'm going to go back to the teacher notes folder and see I have all of the 12 units for A2. Yeah, A2 has 12 units, and all of these are separate, and it's exactly the same way. You would click on one page, you can download it, you can access it through the browser, basically as you need to. There's also a notes link for the specialist essays, and so that's also something that you can access and download. Okay, so let's move on to look at the worksheets that come with the teacher material. So these are just extra worksheets that you have, but also with the worksheets come teacher notes. So it's not just extra worksheets for the students to use or you to use, but it's also notes for you on the best way to use these. And these are also PDFs, so I'll just show you the PDFs very quickly. As you can see here, these are PDFs and they can be downloaded. I'll just take it into full screen. Okay, take it into full screen here. As you can see here, it can be downloaded. It can be basically saved to your computer. You can take parts of it if you wanted to. But you can also use this, the ideas from this. So a lot of teachers say to me, well, it's great that you have, worksheets, but I can't use them because I don't go to class and I can't photocopy them for my students. But the fact is, you can use these. And the way that you can use them is, let's say I really like this question. So match the questions 1 to 8 to the answers A to B. Let's say I really like this and I think it fits an activity that I'm doing with my class, and I think they will benefit from this. I can just copy and paste all of these and then make a Google form quiz for my students, or a Blackboard quiz for my students. And then I've used the content. I haven't used the photocopyable part, but I've used the content with my students, and I haven't had to write new content. I haven't had to invent new questions with my students. Okay, so those were examples of the worksheets. Great, thank you, Dr. Swarab. So I'll go back again to the teacher material, as you can see here. And so we've gone through the teacher notes, which is basically the teacher's book divided into all of the different units. The worksheets provide extra worksheets and extra activities for our students. And another question that came up was the answer keys. So the answer key that's available for teachers here, not available for students, by the way, because that would be a problem. But the answer keys that are available are the answer key for the student book, which is also available in the teacher notes. But this is a summary of all of the answer keys for all of the activities, and the answer key for workbook as well. And so if you're using the workbook as a page tiger, as a flip book, then you can use the answer key here side by side. You would have a PDF of the answer key and the flip book open as well. And again, you can download these to your computer and save them as you see fit. Yes, I really like that comment. Dr. Sahar says we can use these examples as assignments for the students on Blackboard. Yeah, so the idea is not that we would only use them as paper questions, but we can also use the content that comes in them as well. So a lot of nice extra materials for teachers to fall back on if you need to. And obviously, I'm sure that most of you have, most of you have your own worksheets and you've developed your activities over the years, and I'm sure that those are all great. But if there is a situation where you need an extra worksheet or an extra activity, do know that these are here and they're ready for you to use. Okay, so somebody mentioned the audio. So the student book audio and the workbook audio and the video, these are all available as well. And I'll just very quickly show you the audio for the student book. So this has also been provided to the e-learning unit in the ELC, and they would have made this all available for you. But these are also available here as well. So if you wanted to download the audio to your device, you can do so by clicking on the link. As you see here. So it automatically has downloaded all of the audio for Unit 1 in a zip folder, and then I can have this available on my device. I can play it to my students in the online class or in the physical class. Okay. Also, all of the videos are available, and so are all of the workbook audio as well. But there is also something that I want to show you very quickly. As you can see, not only the audio is available, but also the audio script. And so if you have the need for the audio scripts, know that you can find them here. So all of the audio that's been transcribed and written down for you. And this is exactly the same for the workbook audio as well. As you can see here, we have the audio scripts for all of the audio for the A2 book. And in the video part, as you can see, there are all of the videos here for A2, but there's also the portfolios and the video scripts as well. Okay, so that was some of the teacher material that's available for teachers on the Milestones A2 book, and you will find exactly the same content available in the B1 book as well. Okay, before I move on, do you have any questions? I can see that some of you are typing. Mohammed Khawar says the PDF is not copyable. Do you mean for the worksheets, Mohammed, or for the teacher notes? Yes, Mohammed Bari, I'll show you how to hide units. I'll show you how to hide activities. I'll show you how to deal with the content that's on here for students. And we'll come to that in a second. For the worksheets, let's put that together. Okay, I'll come back to that, Dr. Mohammed Khawar. So I'll come back to your question on the copyable worksheets in a minute. But let's move on. Let's look at what's available for students. So we've seen what teachers are given. So all of the extra worksheets and resources for teachers. Let's see what students are given. So the students are given the audio for the workbook, and the video. Now you'll notice the students don't have any of the worksheets, they don't have any of the teacher notes, and they definitely don't have any of the answer keys. And so this is something that I really like, because a lot of students in the past used to complain that I only get to listen to the listening clip or the audio clip in class when the teacher gives us a listening activity. Here, what we've done is we've given the student the opportunity to go back and to listen and to practice and to really be involved in developing their listening skills. So we're asking the students to take more responsibility for their learning, to be aware of the fact that the resources are available for you as a student to access whenever you want to and whenever you need to, and you don't have to rely on the teacher to play the audio clip for you in class time only. Okay, so the student material is material, except the teachers, the worksheets, the answer keys, and the teacher notes. Because the worksheets are available in iTools for copying. Yeah, so I think the worksheets. I think we have given permission for them to be photocopied, and I think that's the whole point of them. But I will check your question, Dr. Mohammed Khawar. I'll come back to that, inshallah, later on. Okay, so now let's look at the content of OxfordLearn. So the online practice activities. And so as you can see, because Milestones is very heavily invested in academic English, what we've done here is we've given students 4 skills. So we've asked them to focus on reading, listening, speaking, and writing, as you can see. And we've divided these into 3 main parts. And so the idea is to break it down for students, but not break it down too much so they feel that they're overwhelmed. So if we've given them 20 different parts for reading, that may have overwhelmed them. They may have felt that there was way too much for them to do online. And so the idea was to give them 3 parts and divide these by themes. And this immediately, just looking at the different reading parts here, reading 1, reading 2, and reading 3, I can see immediately the theme of the reading, and it's already generating interest. So I'm already thinking about, okay, what type of technology is being discussed in these reading parts or these reading passages? Are they going to be talking about aeroplanes or rocket science or mobile phones or communication? What is the technology being discussed? So these are the ideas, dividing the reading by themes and just keeping our students as interested as possible. Okay, so I'm now in the first part of reading for this book. Okay, so I'm going to go to the question that Dr. Mohammed Bari Omar mentioned, is how do I hide activities for my students? And so the first thing that you should know is you can hide the skill itself. So if I didn't want my students to do anything on reading, I would click on the reading here and I would go to the top next to where it says reading and I would hide from users. So that's what I would do. I would click on hide, or I would click on settings and I would, no, sorry, this is not the right way. So I would either click here and I would hide from users, or I would click on the eye here and make it visible or make it invisible for students, so hidden from my students. So that's how I would hide the full skill. And now, if my students were to log in, they wouldn't see reading. They would see listening, and they would see speaking, and they would see writing, but they wouldn't see reading. One thing to mention, you may have noticed in the drop-down menu, at the bottom it says delete module. Now, I have a question for you. Should we delete the module if we want to hide it from our students? Okay, I love that Noha and Muhammad Abshir are staying wary and saying probably not. But other colleagues says no, we definitely shouldn't, or we should not. And what's the reason? Why shouldn't we delete? Yes, Dr. Surab, you're absolutely right. If I delete the module, then I can't get it back. It doesn't come back, so there's no option to actually, undelete or bring back or retrieve from the trash if you're going to delete it. The only way I think is to retrieve it is to put in a request with the technical team at Oxford, and they have to go and undelete it for you, which could take a day or two if it was a weekend. So please don't delete any of the activities. Please don't delete any of the modules. If you don't want it, just hide it from the users. And the way that you do that is you click on hide, or you click on the eye icon here where it says visibility, and you just click on it and it makes it invisible. And if you now look at the left, on the left hand side of my screen, I'm just going to scroll down. Now you can see under reading, it says hidden. So that's an indication for you that this hasn't been deleted, but it's still hidden from my students, and they won't be able to see it until I make it visible again. Okay. So I have another question for you guys. What are some of the benefits of asking our students to do online activities? So what benefits does this offer our students in terms of the time it would take them, or their confidence level, or maybe the mixed ability classes that you have? So some ideas. Why would we want to use online practice with our students? Okay, Dr. Sarab says it's time for prayer break. Sure. Let's just get the answers from our colleagues on my question, and then I think we can break for 15, 20. So Dr. Noreen says learner's autonomy. Yes, I absolutely agree with you. The idea is to reinforce the idea that our students should, have at least some sense of learner autonomy, responsibility for their own learning. The idea is not to teach them only when they're in a class, but to give them, that mental and confident push to study on their own. I definitely agree with you there. And you also mentioned blended learning. Yes, blended learning is a huge part of learning nowadays, especially with COVID-19. And online practice definitely offers that. Dr. Fahad says that they practice what they've learned. Yes, so language is a skill. And we talk about reading skill and we talk about listening skills. And a skill, like anything else, is only perfected with practice. And the more practice that we do, and the more practice our students do, the more proficient they become in that particular skill. And we notice this about ourselves in our everyday lives, even with the language that we use on an everyday basis. The more we use it, the more we are exposed to it, the more proficient we become with it, and that's the same for our students. Dr. Said, most of the writing and reading topics related to ESV. Some of them are, Dr. Said. So some of them are related to ESV and some of them are related to more general topics, just to keep our students interested and engaged as well. Dr. Kalimullah says, practice the language and gain confidence. Yes, that's absolutely true. Because our students sometimes are too shy to say something or to write something in front of their classmates. And I think we all are in some contexts. And so having that level of comfort where they're in their own homes, they can answer the question at their own pace, and they're not ridiculed or judged by any of their peers or their teacher, and that really helps to build up confidence, especially the young adults that we teach at this age. Yes, Dr. Noha says allows them to hone their skills in their own time. Definitely, yeah, practice slowly and build that up with time and just to become more proficient. Dr. Salimullah says reinforcement, self-learning, self-assessment. I love that you said self-assessment because that's key here. Because what online practice does is it not only helps our students to practice and to do an activity, but it also gives them feedback from the grades, and the grades that they see here appear to them as well as to you. And so it tells them, in an indirect way, go and check your grade, assess yourself. What did you do right? What did you do wrong? And just reinforcing that idea that, that they are constantly assessing what they are doing, what they are learning, and how they are producing language as well. Dr. Saab says they should be able to navigate through all of the material. Yes, and that's a really good point, actually. So I think that's something that we will cover possibly in maybe another session, inshallah. But I think before we ask our students, or before we expect them to do everything online, we really need to make sure they know they have access, first of all, and they know how to. So if our student doesn't know how to log on or how to click on reading one and access the first activity, then I don't think it's fair for us to then assess them on that. So yeah, they do need to be able to access all of the content as well. Dr. Neda says more exposure to language. Yeah, definitely agree. The more exposure, the more practice, the more they learn. Yes, Dr. Ahmed Shamili says different environment. Definitely, yes. So the student has a lot of different let's call it states throughout the day. So they're one time they're in their class, whether it's an online class or a physical class, and then they're at home or in their free time. And so this is asking them to also think about language in another of their states, and just giving them that extra boost on that extra push towards thinking about language outside of the classroom as well as inside the classroom. Dr. Mohammed says how to send homework and assignment notifications. Let's come to that after the prayer break. So remind me if I don't come back to that, but I think we'll start with that. Is how to set assignments and due dates and how to remind students. Dr. Ahmed Shamali says meeting individual needs and differences. Perfect. Yes. So our students are at different levels. Even if they've been placed in A2 and they are all around A2, they're still at different levels. Some of them have weaknesses that others don't have. And so giving them this opportunity to support themselves in building their confidence and practicing and bridging the gaps in their knowledge is really key for them to learn. And Dr. Muhammad Arshad says they work at their own pace. Yes, because learners all learn in different ways, but also at different pace as well. So some students are very quick to pick up a grammar point, and I'm sure you've seen this in your classes. Other students, and I remember I had a student who was a really good student, but it took her some time to pick up a grammar point where other students were quicker than her, and just giving her that extra practice really helped to build her skill in that particular language point. Okay. Okay, so Dr. Muhammad says, let's set the timer before leaving for a prayer break. Let's do that. And then we'll come back and I'll talk about Dr. Ahmed's comment and Dr. Muhammad Arshad's question as well. So what do you guys say? 15 minutes, 20 minutes for break? What do you think? 20 minutes. Okay, 20 minutes. So I'll set the time. Okay, we have 1:15.